Sambatskano Mongol Chudan, welcome to Talk With Me.
Ganzorig is the president of Mandal Insurance and chairman of Mongolia's UMC Group. He's also president of the Mongolian Financial Markets Association.
Thank you, Ganzo, for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
It's lovely to have you on the show. Ganzo, tell me a little bit about UMC Group, United Mongolian Corporation, and about Mandal Insurance, before we get on to the deeper things in life.
Sure, well, UMC is a partnership. So as you may know, Mongolia does not have a very strong partnership tradition. There is no partnership culture here. Most of the largest conglomerates and big companies are family companies, family owned and family run. So there are 12 partners in UMC, and the 12 guys are just like me, who used to work for big corporations in executive positions. So one day we decided, why don't we establish a new partnership where executives are owners themselves? So that's how we established UMC. And Mandal Insurance is a derivative from UMC. So now UMC operates in real estate investment business, and Mandal Insurance, the insurance, and marketing and HR business as well.
Ganzo, how is business at the moment? I mean, the Mongolian economy is not doing so well. Are you at UMC and Mandal at times okay?
Sure. UMC side, it's mixed results. Mixed results. And Mandal Insurance, I should say, the business is growing about 40 to 50% year-over-year basis. And of course, insurance sector is again growing at quite a hefty pace, at on average of 30%. Why? Because why the economy is the growth is slowing? Why insurance is growing so fast? Because insurance has been traditionally very underserved market. So now, now the customers, they're really starting to realize, in my opinion, that they need a risk management.
How important was insurance to Mongolians 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Is the idea of insurance a new thing to Mongolia?
Well, we're celebrating 80th anniversary for our former state-run insurance company.
80th?
80th. But until recently, people had, well, no idea or very small idea about insurance itself. So insurance is a new concept, and of course, a huge customer education initiative was needed. But finally, you know, the new players like Mandal and other competitors are making some efforts in that regard. So now customers are becoming, their awareness are increasing on a daily basis.
Yes. Ganzorig, can you tell me a little bit about the professional clubs that you are involved in, and also about the Financial Markets Association, which you helped to form?
Right. I helped to found two different clubs. One is Executive Club, and Executive Club also has a sub-club which is called Young Executives Club. And we also had co-founded CFO Club. So both clubs are about 6-7 years old now. We observed that CEOs managed to mingle with the social life. You know, they go to that conference, they go to that club, and they are invited, and they invite people, so they represent the company. But CFOs are the second most important executive position in the company, but they didn't have a social life. And social life, I mean about the professional circle, you know, professional networking, so that they could get enriched and developing themselves and sharing knowledge. So that's why we established CFO Club.
Okay. You were born in Poland. Can you tell me a little bit about that and about your parents?
Yeah, sure. My parents were scientists, and they were studying in Poland during the socialist time. During the socialist time, the best students, the best high school students, were enlisted to learn science in developed Eastern European countries like Poland or Czechoslovakia. So my parents were just one of them. And they learned science, but unfortunately things turned wrong for their career.
How so?
Why? Because the Mongolia transferred from socialism to free market economy and democracy.
During their time in Poland?
1990s. No, actually they were starting late 70s. So they were working here in Mongolia as scientists,
Right.
working in different fields, but then science was ignored at the onset of 1990s. So I was happened to born in Poland, but I don't speak more than 2 words in Polish.
What about your Russian? You speak Russian?
Well, I used to speak quite a good Russian, but nowadays not very much. You know, the Russian use is not that much. But if I'm in Russia, in Mongolian, say, if you're in Russia, you can find a plate of meal, you know. So
you speak emergency Russian?
Yes, emergency
Yes, I
Russian.
speak emergency Mongolian.
All right, yeah. Since from at the age of 3 or 4, I spent about 4 or 5 years in countryside, because my
Really?
Yeah, because my maternal grandparents were teachers in Gobi, right, the mining town. And when they retired, they wanted to go back to nomadic life.
Right.
One of them was math teacher, the other was chemistry teacher, and they bought some animals at the onset of late 1980s. So I spent a few years herding animals and learning the hardship of.
Amazing. Ganzorig, I mean, the Mongolian way of life, where parents will often let grandparents raise children for a few years, is a very foreign notion to someone from another country, for Australians, Americans, Canadians, but it's very common here. Are you glad you got to live with your grandparents for a few years?
Yes, of course, because my parents they're just doing their careers or starting, initiating their careers. And of course, they are not that experienced people to raise a young kid, right? So grandparents are usually fill in that role.
Ganzo, you lecture and have lectured at Mongolian universities free of charge. What sort of things do you teach university students? What sort of knowledge do you share with these?
Initially, it was more of a full-time commitment. Well, it's part-time actually, but it's like professional commitment, I should say. And it was mostly management and accounting or accounting information systems topics. But later on, I was more into like not professional commitment, but visiting lecturer. So one-off lecturing to a couple of hundred students to one of the universities. So it mostly started to shape into more of an inspirational.
Yes, sort of a role model, sort of a mentor.
Yes, kind of mentor role, and coming from the practical field. So students could compare between their teachers and the guy who's actually working in the markets.
Yes, of course, because real life is very different from university.
Yes, well, actually, yes. So they have to have understanding of both worlds.
Of course. Ganzorig, you have described yourself as a local product, and I've read many of the things that you've written. But one of the things that caught my attention is from your blog, you say, I'm never against people who studied at very good schools. I myself dreamed to study at Harvard. It's not the race, school, or organization that makes you smart. In your opinion, what is it that makes a man or woman smart?
Well, I think simply it's intention. So I don't have to talk about a huge 1-hour lecture, but I believe it's intention, and intention shapes the person's mind. So I've worked, and I had a very lucky coincidence working with many smart people in a banking universe especially. But I have identified one trend. If you have a good intention, whether you are math superstar or super geek or you know 5 languages, it doesn't matter. If you have a good intentions, you can actually create very good, you can leave your legacy actually. Otherwise, you'll be just a smart man there and be forgotten later on. to be straightforward, self-centered intention, in my opinion, is not a good one. But if you have an intention to create something for other people, then that kind of changes the complete, the advantage of the game in favor of yourself. So if you're playing a chess, if you're playing that for your own sake, then you may fulfill 70% of your potential. But if you're playing the chess for the sake of other people, for the goodness of other people, you may achieve 200% of your potential. So that's my life experience. It's not taught from book or from someone else.
Or from Harvard.
I don't think it can be taught in Harvard.
Of course.
I don't think so.
I agree. Ganzorig, can you describe to me maybe some of the socialist elements that you remember learning from your education in the Mongolian education system that were lost when the Soviets left?
The most frightening factor is that many people had labeled socialism entirely bad. But in my observation now, according to my observation, every system has a similar design, but may have a different goals, right? So similar design needed to be retained. But Mongolian leaders at that time, 1990s, dismissed that hugely important factor and made a huge mistake.
Yes, a lot of people labeling socialist education as propaganda.
Every society, the education system in the society tries to prepare a person for a life. Socialism is no different from capitalism in that regard. So in socialist education system, as far as I remember, because I spent half of my high school year during socialist period, they try to shape the person positively, right? They try to prepare people as responsible, as caring about others, and socially oriented, and well, you name it, all those good traits and good qualities of the people. Socialist education system
Teaching you how to be a good person.
had tried to actually impose them onto you. But then that was stopped, and there was no replacement.
After the peaceful revolution,
After 1990.
that was it.
There was no replacement. Then,
Right.
Since then, Mongolian education system had just started teaching logarithms or some literature. That's it.
But nothing about values and how to be a good person in society.
Or just nothing about developing the communication skill of the kids,
Is this why you lecture at universities?
Yes, well, that's partly one of my motivation because, as you rightly said, I'm a local product. And since after joining a bank and started working as a trader, I had a huge opportunity to learn about the world and tracking the economies of US and Europe and Japan and comparing those economies to Mongolia. I actually realized that Mongolian education system had failed to provide me, what it was ought to provide me. So that's why I felt urged to come back to universities and take every opportunity to talk to the students. And actually that kind of a job or that.
I've read on your blog, which I want to talk about later, you discuss some of the issues with today's education system in Mongolia. I mean, there are lots of expensive schools here that parents pay a lot of money to send their children to. I mean, the prices are comparable, if not beyond prices paid in America, Australia, Canada. What are your thoughts about that? Why are people forking out the big bucks now in Mongolia? And do you think it's worth it, these private educational systems these private schools that have popped up in UB over the last 10, 20 years?
I think being in a private school, high school, especially business, is very profitable one because the market is right there and the customers are right there. They are ready to pay the price. That's the business. But when we look at the broader perspective, I don't think they are doing any good. Why? First, parents have to understand that kids' education, number one education comes from them, not the school.
Yeah.
So many parents base their decisions to send their kids to expensive high schools on wrong assumption that the school education system will make their kids better. No.
And solve every problem.
No, actually, parents retain that power, and education in school is just a supplementary to that. Second problem is many of those high schools, instead of preparing the future generation Mongolians positively, I think, and I'm afraid, that they create, unjust competition. Oh, my classmate just bought the latest Louis Vuitton design bag.
Yeah.
So, do you want to send your little daughter to such type of, intensely bad culture and destroy her?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I've witnessed that with my own children. I mean, they go to a very good elite school, and there is a competition amongst the kids who has the latest phone, and I hear what you're saying.
And also,
this is a very new phenomenon in Mongolia, though. I mean, in Western countries, this has been happening for years, but it's very new here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very new, and I think many parents don't have a privilege to have enough information or enough time, actually, to sit down and think about their kids' future.
Yeah.
And third thing, I'm not sure if it's right to tell here.
No, tell it. Of course it's right.
Because actually many rich people, part of the community, they base their wealth on a wrong-folded reasons, like bribery money or abusing their government powers, etc. Yeah. That's how they got rich.
Of course.
Do you want to mix your kids with such people's kids?
Yeah.
That's a question.
Ganzorig, I usually ask my Mongolian guests to give me their favorite Mongolian expression or proverb. But with you, I want to ask you your least favorite Mongolian proverb. And you told me this. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember.
It makes me laugh because you said, no, I don't want to tell you my favorite. What's your least favorite Mongolian proverb?
Do I say it in
say
Mongolian?
It.
Or?
Okay, first say it in Mongolian for our Mongolian viewers, and then tell me the translation in English.
Right. The Mongolian one is Urgubol Baying, and English translation is you are wealthy if you do not have a debt. So I think this is, when this proverb, it's very famous proverb. When it did originate, I don't know, but I know it has been going there for a long, long time and lingers through the minds of people. Many people base their economic decisions on this proverb. If you do not have a debt, that means you are wealthy. And actually, exactly, people are applying this kind of logic when it comes to state affairs. And I believe Mongolia needs to borrow money to invest into the development. We need to invest into our education system, healthcare system, infrastructure. But politicians and generally the populations are afraid of borrowing money, partly blamed on this proverb. So this is my least favorite.
Coming from Australia, America, you need debt in order to buy a house, to pay for your children's education. Do you think Mongolians are at a turning point?
Actually, I think, the culture persists, right? So, in order to destroy this kind of wrong culture, it may take some years.
Ganzorig, how do you feel about foreigners living in Mongolia? And do you have a wide range of expat friends when you come across Westerners in the street? What do you think about all these expats here?
Well, I think, first of all, I think there are too few expats here. So we have to invest our time and efforts to make their numbers grow. In a sense, they will become a very good customer base for any business owner. So that's my first thought. Second, I think there is also mis-expectation, difference in expectations between foreigners and the Mongolians themselves. And many Mongolians wrongly think that foreigners are indebted for them to develop the country or to help developing the country. But in a way, in any expat working in Mongolia are directly or indirectly contributing to the development of Mongolia. But that does not mean they have to go out there and establish NGO and start feeding poor kids or teaching to the universities free of charge. That's going to be a false expectation. Mongolian development is Mongolians' problem, right? It's not expat problem. Well, on the other hand, I don't have much to say about expat mis-expectation. I think many expats come here with very good intentions, and of course they have taken some risks depending on where they are coming from. You know, the air pollution, the traffic jam, blah blah blah. You know, you name it.
Can you tell me a little bit about your friend, your childhood friend, and the experience you had and how this affected you? I don't want to tell too much away. I don't want to tell the story, but it's very moving and interesting.
Well, I think I have benefited from that event or from that experience quite a lot.
Can you tell it from the beginning?
Sure. Actually, I had and I have now many different types of friends. Many kids tend to have their own social likings or social comfortable zones of friends, right? But my family culture was quite contrary. I had many different types of friends, and one of my friends, one of my best friends, actually was orphaned, you know, in front of my eyes. I think I was about 10, 11 years old.
I remember you telling me his parents divorced, his mother left, and then his father died suddenly.
Father died, and also his grandfather and his father, he used to live with them. Both of them died within a month. So 10, 11 years old boy left alone. And you know, it's a capitalist economy now. It's not socialism. State's not going to be looking after
Of course,
you.
not going to help this kid.
Yeah, so if it was like 10 or 15 years ago, he would have been taken care by the state. But the situation was completely different, and he was lost. You know, I could not help him.
And you felt helpless.
Yes, of course, I could not, because I was not in a position at that time.
What happened to this childhood friend?
Now, you mean, or?
No, I mean, after his parents died, I mean, I remember you saying he had a really tough life. No one.
Well, it was a very tough life, and he spent his childhood without any family support. But he was a good kid, and he's very smart. So he didn't sway into those alcohol abuse or you know, going to the streets. He did everything. But later on, you know, because he haven't had a chance to go to attend the university, and many different other hurdles that for people like us, you and me, you know, that seem just very easy to come over. But for those types of people or helpless, you know, it's impossible, you know, huge barricades.
I often feel, I mean, we take things for granted, and the situation you've just described to me, I mean, it's a very common occurrence in Mongolia. I mean, there's so many broken lives, broken families.
Especially during 90s, from 1990 to 2000.
Why so much in the 90s?
Many families suffered big time because the entire system had changed. So before 1990, a young, flourishing scientist or a doctor or a teacher, because these were regarded as the elite professions. But then suddenly they became junkies, you know. They became the lowest paying, and even they wouldn't see salaries for months. But then the new type of people emerged, the business people.
Right, right.
So,
Fascinating.
and the guys who had busy careers didn't have a chance to transfer to become a business person.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Something to think about. Ganzo, you do a lot of thinking, so much so that you have been blogging for many years. I have read your blog on many occasions. Unfortunately, my Mongolian isn't good enough to read it completely. I get it translated. You blog about science, philosophy, education, economics. The latest post that I've read from your blog, ganzorigolsibayer.blogspot.com, is you refer to you talk about a little boy who asks his mother, "Mom, where did I come from?" It's a Mongolian boy asking his mom, and the mom says to her son, "Shh, don't ask such questions." And you say that this shuts down the philosophical mind of the child. Is this the Mongolian way to say, "Shh, don't ask these questions"?
Well, I believe so, because on many occasions, young parents are very tired after work and they are obsessed with the career or money, right?
Yeah.
But actually, their biggest duty is their kids.
Yeah.
And of course, kids are interested in everything because they are philosophers.
So you're saying parents don't answer this question because they're tired, not because it's such a touchy subject. I mean, do you...
No, I don't think so, because they just don't understand the importance of that question and the answer, the importance to the answer of that question. Because parents do not realize why, because they were never taught about that. You know, because high school education system also has a function to prepare future fathers and mothers. The Mongolian education system doesn't do that.
Right. Ganzorig, what is your philosophy on life?
Well,
Or philosophy about life?
well, actually, it's a complex. It must be a complex answer, but simply, I believe in positivism, and I believe in productivity, and I believe productivity is strictly related to art or artistic behavior, and that artsy behavior actually emerges from the intention that I mentioned before.
Yes, yes.
An intention to help other people or to do something good to other people.
Are you a religious man at all?
Not really.
No.
Not really, but I have very strong philosophical beliefs that most of my beliefs coincides with major religions. And if you actually look at the from broader perspective, look at the religions, they are very similar. They are strikingly similar to each other. They just interpretations are a little bit different, and that's how, you know, that divides people and they kill each other. But the belief, fundamental belief, is same.
Many foreigners come here and try and convert Mongolians. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think Mongolians, in the first place, are a very different culture, and it's not going to be easy to convert Mongolians to anything, because they are people who are very close to nature, right? And they are nomad, so the thinking style is quite different. And I actually applaud any religion coming to Mongolia and trying to convert the people, because that's actually the education process is going on. So believe you're Buddhist or you're Christian or you're Mormon, or you even can have your own beliefs, atheist, right? It's belief is the defining factor for a person, I think.
Ganzorig, you are a very scientific person behind the philosophical person. You write about quantum mechanics, dark matter, the Big Bang, the origins of the universe. And I find this quite interesting as well. I have read Stephen Hawking, Richard Dawkins. What sort of books do you read about the universe? And do you have a big telescope on your balcony?
Well,
you look at the stars at night. I know you're an astronomy buff.
Actually, I'm planning to buy one, but to be honest, I thought I liked astronomy, right? But that's just just I was interested.
Is this a new thing? How long have you been interested?
When I was a very little kid, so it's there's nothing concrete about it. I was just interested. I wanted to know why stars exist and what they are and who they are. But actually, I'm not a scientific person, I should say. I try to read lots of scientific things, especially quantum physics and astronomy and biotechnology. Why? Because it's based on my philosophical quest. I want to.
How are philosophy and astronomy and quantum mechanics interconnected, though?
Well, actually, you want to know who you are. What's your purpose in life, and what's the meaning of life, right? That's the question that every person asks. 7 billion people, every one of them ask.
Yeah.
But you want to know, so you want to search for the answer, right? And some of the answers are actually lies in those science fields.
I agree.
Because if you know what is the component of yourself, the atoms and molecules and electrons, then you start thinking from that foundations.
Don't you find, though, I mean, I think the same way you do, the more questions you ask, the more you learn, the more confused you feel. I mean, sometimes you just go out into the night sky, look up at the stars, and I don't know, I find the more I read about the mysteries of the universe and life and religion, and I don't know, there are no answers. Have you found any answers? Do you understand more now about the meaning of your life because of your...
Yes, of course. Because every or any effort is compensated, right? That's a simple logic in a biological life. So if you're making an effort taking a courage to ask a question and find answers for it, actually they are greatly compensated and paid back. So actually, I think what you're feeling is you don't feel more confused, but you just know that you just realize there are more to know. I think that can be called sort of enlightenment, right, because you're enlightened. Many people, they just think themselves they know everything, but actually they are not. So that's not enlightenment. But if you know that you don't know much thing and that you have to continue searching for the answers, that's kind of enlightenment.
Ganzorig, thank you very much for being on Talk With Me today. It's been very fun chatting with you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and I had enjoyed the time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, viewers, for being with us on Talk With Me, and hope to see you next week. But for now, bye, stand that old see.